So I think we can go straight into unlocking zero emissions with big data. And we're going to hear from Alex Froome and Daniel Chick from Zipabaout.
I just noticed, looking through my emails, that I've actually sent Laura the 20-minute version of this presentation. So we're going to bang through this a little bit and skip some of the details. I do apologise. Don't want to start overrunning as the first of the day. So, what are we here to talk about? We're Zipabaout. We're a transport data specialist from Oxford. Come from a diverse background outside of local authorities, outside of transport data, based in things like online advertising, tracking technology. And we originally started Zipabaout around the 2012 London Olympics for TfL and created a platform that actually balances user behaviour and user demand against transport network capacity. And we use that to some effect for the Olympics to balance and reroute the London Underground and all of its connecting legs during the course of the Olympics. So, zero emissions in Oxford. There are better people here to talk about the actual policy element of this today than me, so I won't dwell too much. But Oxford has made the headlines recently by declaring it wants to be one of the world's first cities to go completely zero emission. How are we doing that? In 2015, the zone was announced and is being applied. It's rolling out from 2020 across the city over the next 15 years. I appear to have already skipped a slide, which is making this particularly slick. All non-compliant vehicles are to be restricted to the park and ride. That means anything that currently breaches the rules around the emissions. And the idea is to create a basic living transport lab with the city at the core, but across the entire region, in order to test and develop with academic and partners how we can actually create these smart cities of the future, how we can actually use all of the different initiatives that are coming together and combine them in one living, breathing ecosystem that everybody has access to. What we see a lot at the moment is a lot of innovation funding causing sort of little siloed approaches to projects all around the UK that always fail to join up. What we're trying to do here is actually create an entirely open ecosystem where any small or large project can exist and contribute and become part of a balanced network. Most importantly, the scheme is aimed at putting mobility as a service at the beginning and the heart of all that we're trying to do in Oxfordshire. Now, mobility as a service, I won't dwell on. It's a well-covered topic at the moment. But you would be forgiven in the UK for thinking it was basically just smart ticketing around Birmingham. There are a lot of great initiatives coming out, but they are mostly focused on cities, high net worth, reasonably simplistic ticketing solutions applied, very complex political scenario of aggregation of fares, etc. But actually, mobility as a service is already becoming a little bit stagnant. It's already looking like a couple of apps that you can pay for your taxis through and pay for your ticketing through. We believe it's a bit more than that. We believe it should actually be the core, the ecosystem that supports any new transport initiatives. Zero emission zones is part of that. CAVs, public-private transport, demand responsive systems, they should all form part of the mass landscape. And they should all effectively cover all of the needs of a county or a region. So we're not just talking about commuters going into a city because a third party can make some money selling them a train ticket, which is unfortunately where mass is being led at the moment. But this is about getting individuals down from villages to hospital visits. It's about community transport. It's about integrating every single mobility project that we can think of with big budgets, with little budgets, in a way that actually we can balance resources across an entire region to create the transport system that can react to the needs of the people who want to use it. So how are we doing this? There we go, animation's in the wrong order, this is going brilliantly. First, it's about uniting all of the different elements of the transport system. Everywhere in the UK, there'll be potentially 2 bus operators sort of competing around the same route, maybe 2 rail operators, there'll be a city, a local authority, there'll be different regions. Actually trying to get this all united in one sort of ecosystem has actually taken us about 4 years, but Oxfordshire were the first who really wanted to do that. As a result, we're actually now integrated into every single transport provider in Oxfordshire. All of the authorities and all of the districts are combined to actually make the most of this platform. The missing bit. There are hundreds of platforms out there that will resell open data to you. They'll sell the train positions, they'll sell you a journey planner. But actually, what none of them have is this behavioural demand model. Very high profile bus on demand systems running at the moment. They're all based on bus usage. Usage is not the same as demand. What we're offering here by a greater aggregated platform is to actually show where people begin and end their day, why they make those decisions, why they actually take one route when it rains or park somewhere different when it's half term. All of these things are needed as part of a live, real-time platform if you're really going to understand your own transport network. So, how do we do this? Transport Graph is, of course, the solution to all of your worries. Feedback. It's a unified aggregation platform. What does that mean? It means it processes everything we believe affects the transport network in real time. Public, private transport, real data positions of buses, timetables, train services, tram services, on-demand services, community transport services, private shuttle buses, everything in one place. And also the things that affect it. Holidays, half-term, weather, social sentiment, what people are saying on Twitter. All of this is combined in aggregate on a national model as the starting point of the transport graph. From this, we can combine other data sets, private, commercial, secure data sets, to generate unique BI based on the needs of whoever's asking the question. This isn't a static thing that says, here are all of your routes, here are your bus timetables. This is about giving people tools to ask questions of their transport network and their smart cities environment and get the data they need. As we've covered, it's already seamlessly integrated. We have a simple API approach that means it's already running in the operator apps, the operator websites, journey planners, systems all around Oxfordshire to help gather that data. Okay. The Amazon Web Services thing is key. As a small company, we don't believe you as local authorities should pay for this. This is a side product. This is something coming out of technology we built a decade ago. A lot of this is your data. It's open data, or it's your own data. And yet, time and time again, we see these offerings coming up, effectively offering for you to pay them to give you your data back. We see quite a lot of that. It doesn't seem right. The cost of processing a local authority's data compared to what we're actually doing on a national and international scale hasn't actually registered in terms of our infrastructure costs. So in order to give this out, we want to release this technology so people can use it to actually go and do the exciting stuff and stop paying for consultants and paying for access to their own data. We can only do that because as an Amazon Web Services partner, they're underwriting providing this as an Amazon Web Services marketplace product that you can procure directly from them and their public sector. So what exactly is it? And this I will rattle through because I'm acutely aware I'm running over. Technology. It's based on the graph. Some of you may know about the graph, some of you may not, but it's basically what powers Facebook, Amazon, and Netflix. It's about real-time, immediate access to myriad connected pieces of data in any form and any query structure that you want, any way of accessing that you want. All national transport conditional data in real time. Again, what does that mean? We've monitored the position of every train in the UK for the last 7 years now. We can tell you where they've all been. We can tell you what happens to them when it rains. We can tell you what happens to the 5:15 if the 4:15 is 10 minutes late. The entire living national rail and bus model is involved in the system, is included in the system that you have access to. The conditional data. We have a relationship with the Met Office. We process, and this gets ridiculous, I think 140 data types of weather on a kilometre grid every few seconds throughout the day. I can tell you how many lightning strikes are struck within 100 metres of any bus stop, any train in the country for the last 5 years, should anybody ever want that information. We get the weather forecasts, 3 hour, 5 hour, 7 hour, 12 hour, 24 hour, 2 day, 5 day, 7 day, and we apply that in real time. What that actually means is using machine learning, we can tell you the likely outcome of any point of disruption. A blocked road, a train breaks down, a bus stops, what actually happens, how many people does it affect? What likely outcomes are there of 3 mil of rain versus 10 mil of rain versus a headwind, etc. on any service? And all of that's built into the platform for free. The social media inputs, again, we process every single tweet in the United Kingdom. It's a fascinatingly dull database if anybody ever wants to read it. But what it actually means is we put 6.5 million tweets a month mapped to live running services without hashtag, without looking for operator names. We can tell you what people are saying on your bus services, at your roundabouts, on your motorways, at your service stations, on your trains. We do it with Facebook. We can tell you gender bias over usage of transport. We can tell you demographic profiles. We can even begin to tell you why people do things in half-term versus holiday based on the national aggregated social media model. Data depository, again, a lot of people selling data depository back to the local authorities who paid to generate the data in the first place. Data's cheap. Storage is almost free these days. There is no real need to invest hundreds of thousands of pounds over and over again to create another data storage system. So again, we're offering unlimited data depository storage as part of the platform. Again, for example, we process every sensor on the Highways England network. That creates, I think, about 80 gigabytes of compressed data a day. We've been doing that for years. It's all there. It's all available in real time. If you're doing that, the sort of storage we're talking about is quite minuscule. So again, adding into this storage isn't really a problem for us. The ideal of the depository is also that you can put anything you want in it. IoT projects, clever lampposts. Again, UTMC data we process in a lot of different regions already, so we may already have it. But there's always confidential data, there's always commercial data, there's the things you don't want to be shared but actually have an impact. Ticket revenue, footfall, a million different things. You can put anything you like into this data depository. It's a self-service system, you don't need consultants, you don't need us to help you do it. It's just available for a pretty low-level junior developer to access. Joy of aggregation is you also get access to everything else we have. Even if you don't get the raw data, we can still tell you. Where we use mobile phone data, you'll have access to the patterns from that. Behavioural data from rail operators, the people paying, tabbing in and out of smart ticketing systems. Where we have that, you can see that as part of your platform you're offering. Journey planning, again, commoditized product. There's a million of them, but all of them give the data to someone else. Many people use Google Maps as their journey planner. There are a lot of problems with Google Maps, not least of all, it doesn't understand that people drive to stations. But Google Maps is designed to generate data for Google to advertise to you. That's not really the place to start. So we had to create a new form of journey planning, a system that actually can be aligned to the capacity of the network, that can take all of these inputs and begin to offer real insight to people who want to move around with different preferences, different needs, different times of day, and align that to your sustainable transport aims. The simple things, spotting a late train and changing routing, looking at air quality, likely problems in a city in 2 days' time and being able to intercept that, to look at congestion charging, to look at parking systems, to look at incentivizing sustainable travel to avoid those air quality issues. Again, this is the heart of the zero emission zone, is if we can monitor and predict and map exactly where the air quality issues come from, then can we then talk to the people who are creating those problems? Can we mitigate it? Can we move people around it? Can we divert cyclists and people walking to a cleaner air area? Or perhaps can we just stop traffic coming in on a main road on a certain day, certain time, and look at alternatives? And again, the point here is not to go out under our name, it's to provide tools for you to go out to your audiences. We have no interest in actually having the Zipabaout brand out there. What we want to do is enable you to take this forward and create any of the myriad projects you're looking at the moment. I won't start my rant about the existing journey planner landscape, but park and rides are obviously key. Driving to a station, and even just being able to dynamically change the way a system routes hour by hour through a day is something that isn't currently available out there in any meaningful form. We've looked at a lot of this, obviously where we started with the Olympics, was being able to change journey plans through London based on predicted flow of people going in and out of the Olympic Park. Floating unscheduled transport is again something that might be touching a few of you at the moment. We're about to integrate dockless bikes in Oxford as part of our zero emissions project there, so we can actually plan a journey from wherever you're coming to Oxford. You'll get to the station. If you want a dockless bike, we can tell you where the nearest one is. Potentially, depending on the operators who use it, we can book that bike for you, we can make it available for you. That floating thing is key, because if you can do that with a dockless bike, you can do it with an autonomous vehicle. You can do it with a demand-responsive vehicle. You can do it with a flying drone or whatever may be coming next. But it's basically journey planning for vehicles that don't have a timetable and don't have a set location. Again, covered that. So, mass schemes. Everyone talks about the Uber technology, demand-responsive. Uber, even where they're fully deployed, represent a very small part of the transport scheme and a very small part of the demographic who use it. What we're looking to do is actually create the same technical environment for you on a local authority level to take this wherever you want. By sharing the aggregation of data, I see someone else going to talk about that later and the values of that, what you actually get is a network benefit as a whole, rather than a lot of individual operators trying to sort of carve out an area of the market. That can lead into anything from road planning, transport service planning, investment planning, ROI monitoring, etc. And again, by identifying the hotspots, by identifying the pain points, and then monitoring interactions and interventions you create, there is a meaningful measure now of ROI very quickly, very small projects in order to test these hypotheses without, again, investing in the data, the comms, and everything that goes with it. I know, I'm running over. I'll skip those. So, one of the last key points is the behavioural change. Our background is online advertising, the really creepy stuff that follows you around the internet and sells you things that you probably did or didn't want. That's his fault at the back. He spent 10 years doing exactly that. But the point of online advertising is it monitors behaviour interaction and serves a piece of information. Now, with advertising, it's an advert. It's John Lewis haunting you for that kettle that you've probably already bought. But in this context, if you can monitor and understand how people interact with your system, you can serve them the information that best serves them. It's exactly the same as online advertising, only without the creepy sales bit. It's about giving somebody the information they need rather than the sales pitch. How does that actually work? Well, we have a layer over everything that we've just talked about that allows you to define triggers within your own transport network and then deliver messages. So, for example, if we can predict a traffic problem, an air quality problem in the city, and we have a comms channel, an app, Facebook Messenger, Twitter, whatever you want to use, then why not look at incentivising initiatives around that? Again, something we're doing in Oxford around the zero emissions is exactly that. Poor air quality days will intercept people planning journeys into the city and will give them a free bus ticket on the park and ride in order to get into the city. Little things like that. You can spread that as far as you want. You can start offering people free cakes if they take the bus. However you want to cause those triggers, it's there. It's exactly the same as online advertising mechanism, but again, personalised and targeted to the individual, not at broadcast level. Last of all, and I will shut up, sorry Laura, regional analytics. We open all of our data to you as an API. If you have Tableau, QuickSight, any of those BI tools, and you're happy to slice this data any which way you want, then you can, and you can visualize it, and you have that. If, however, you don't have that data resource, then there are some simple dashboards we're putting together, and what I'm hoping is to find a few people who can give us some input on what they need in terms of dashboards so we can make a sort of out-of-the-box solution here. The Journey Planner is the starting point of gathering that information and understanding where your air quality problems are actually coming from. But actually, this goes much further. This goes into road patterns, congestion issues, even the clash between buses not meeting the right trains, or as Ruth was talking about this morning, buses not even being there when you get there, finding those alternatives. We can highlight that in a way that you can talk to your operators, talk to your infrastructure providers and say, look, this doesn't work, how do we fix this? And it's a live and dynamic picture. It's in real time. There are 7 years worth of data. There's terabytes and petabytes, I think, now. But it's processed in a way that means you can access it immediately. Once we understand what your needs are, we can customize it to specific projects if you need it, or you can take this in-house and do it yourself. But it's all available in real time. It goes without saying it already features all of the open data sources you'd expect. Rail, road, planning, etc. are all in there. But they're quite an important starting point because they are the background of your own transport network. Quick examples. That's air quality triggers based on hourly demand coming in through Coventry down towards Oxford. We can do these in more detail if anyone's interested later. Predicting traffic flow, that's based on actually taking telematics from buses and mapping it to general congestion flow, UTMC data and air quality in and around Oxford, predicting hotspots, speeds, etc., looking at where things go wrong in certain conditions. There are many of those. This is Llewellyn, an Oxfordshire Guardian angel, who always likes a very long quote. There we go. Let you read that. And the last bit, it's free. We're not going to charge for this whilst it is used by a local authority. If you provide it to a third party to make profit from, then that is a commercial license. That's a discussion that has to be had. But this is always going to be free, provided as a free license to the local authority forever, for you to do whatever you wish with, to put as much or as little data in, to draw as much or as little as you need from it. Why are we doing that? Well, it's that consultant bit. We know several local authorities who are spending up to £500,000 a year to get a paper report back from a Big Four company who will tell them that maybe they should invest in a Big Four company building some more roads. it just doesn't fit with what the rest of us are doing. We're talking about demand responsive technology, mobility as a service, and yet still hundreds of thousands of pounds going into large reports from large companies. We want to give people the tools to do that themselves. If we can start moving that consultancy budget into developing demand responsive systems or community transport systems or whatever it may be, then that's good for us as well. That's it. I know I've run over. I'm very sorry. I will now leave. But thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.